Hi, so today I am really excited to be welcoming Frank, known as Mr. Funkyfit, to our podcast episode. And I think I met you, Frank. I've only actually met you in person once, and I think it was when we were talking on, was it BBC Radio Solent? Was it earlier in the year? I think it was January time, wasn't it? And we were,
It was actually, yeah.
yeah, I think we were talking
We're
about,
giving away
yeah,
fitness tips.
fitness tips. Yeah. And I was listening to your story. I didn't know anything about you. Like, obviously, we just arrived at the studio. I was talking about my story and what I do, and you were talking about what you do. And I'm like, oh, who is this? Like, this guy's got books. Like, he teaches. Like, and I've seen your videos like on Facebook and on Instagram and socials with everyone like doing the boxing. I'm like, wow. Okay, I need to speak to this guy and get him on the podcast. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do?
My name is Frank Mangana, also known as Mr. Funkyfit. And I'm just a motivator. I just make a lot of noise. I train people, and I'm a massive advocate of the fitness game. And I've been in the game for nearly about 25 years now.
Wow, 25 years. So, how, rewind back 25 years, how did you get started? Like, what actually inspired you to start working in fitness?
Oh, just passion. I was always into athletics and stuff like that. So, it just really led me that way. I started off doing athletics in the schools and winning, and then went and ran county, and then went and ran, just got to different levels of running, and then I decided that I was going to be a trainer, and I wanted to give back to people, and I did boxing as well, which changed my life completely, which is why sort of some of my concepts are really based on the boxing concept.
Amazing. So, you have a program, don't you? So let's talk about the program because that's what like I keep seeing all over social media at the moment. And that's kind of exploded a bit, hasn't it? Like definitely like where we live, which is in like the southern region. So what is the name of that class?
So I've got a concept. I developed my own fitness concept called Funkyfit Boxing. The concept was designed to target the people that would never go into a boxing gym, because I feel like there's a lot of people that want to experience the boxing, but they'll never walk into a normal boxing gym. And also because boxing changed my life, I developed the concept to target the kids, and then all of a sudden the parents latched onto it, and now we have community classes. We have obviously we're in the schools as well. So up to date, we're in about 17 locations, and we're looking to spread the concept all the way across the country.
Amazing. So it's with the pads, isn't it? Like the class I've seen anyway, like the ones that you do with the pads. Like so people like beating the pads on the wall. Like
Yeah, so the Funky Fit Boxing Pad is my own product. So I always thought I wanted to bring boxing to people as opposed to people going to it. So I developed this pad. It's called the Funky Fit Boxing Pad. I created it, designed it, got it patented, and obviously it's we're the only people that have a product like that. So it sticks onto a wall, so you kind of screw it onto a brick wall, and then people come in and they box and they punch. And the concept is exercise to music concept. So I developed music with it, and it's gone crazy, which is great.
yeah, that is amazing. And how long roughly has it taken you to sort of go from just having that as an idea to actually to now, like where it's at?
Oh wow! So a lot of people always think, I'm sure you obviously know this in the business. A lot of people think everything just happens. So I think it was a dream of mine ever since boxing changed my life. So I got into the fitness industry, and then I went into boxing because I went through a little bad patch when I was young, and boxing kind of really helped me to get back to my feet. But I always felt like when I trained my clients on a one-to-one basis, boxing did something different to them. It made them feel different. And so I thought, you know what? I know that these people I'm training in gyms will not go into a boxing gym. So why don't I just start creating something that will help them to get the same feeling, but without being in a boxing gym. As you know, boxing gyms are very they've got fighters, they're people that learn to fight. and there are people that fight competitively. So it's not really an environment for the everyday mom that takes their kid to school and wants to go to a normal boxing, to a normal gym and stuff like that. So I wanted to develop something that people can get the same feeling without being in that same environment.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm looking at the schools as well because I wanted to target grassroots, kids, very young kids, especially key stage 3 and key stage 4, sort of the secondary school kids. Um, I wanted to bring back boxing into the curriculum and introduce it to the PE stuff and things like that. I don't know if you know, but boxing was banned in 1963 by then an MP called Edith Summerskill because parents felt that it was very aggressive because teachers used it to discipline kids. So they'll get two kids that are naughty to start fighting against each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what happened in the 60s. So it was banned in 1963.
Right.
And I feel that, I've always felt that it needs to go back, but as a fitness concept,
Yes.
because with Funkyfit Boxing, you're not punching anyone. You're literally just punching a pad.
Yeah.
So we've been accepted in some schools. Like I said, we're in about 17 locations, still growing. And I think, the concept is great because it's good for the mindset. It's good to develop the kids and keep them away from trouble and stuff like that. So I'm really happy about it. It's going well so far. Quite slow, but it's going well.
Yeah. No, brilliant. I mean, that's how have like the schools and like children, particularly teenagers actually, how have they like taken to like how is that going?
Oh, it's gone really well. It sells itself really well to the kids. I mean, they have PE lessons which have been going on for so many years that are very similar. But when we bring in the boxing concept, they start to do something different. And you have to remember there's a feeling associated with it. All the pent up stress, the aggression, the mental health side of things. And they go there, they have great fun punching the pads, learning the skill, which is transferable skills, hand to eye coordination. It's something different for them. But I think the most difficult bit, you probably agree with me, is actually getting into the schools because schools have got so much red tape,
Mhm.
and some of the teachers can't be asked to do
Yeah.
something new. So it's going to be a big fight, which is what what we are out there for in business. So if you're going to set up a business and if you want something to change generation to generation, you're going to have to fight for it. You're going to have to believe in it. You're going to have to be 100% with it.
Yeah, 100%. And I get what you're saying with that. I mean, I've had my own challenges with when I first started out with the hula hooping. It's a quite niche thing, isn't it? It's not quite like, boxing, it's like hula hoops, but it's yeah, it's definitely been challenging because it's slightly different, even though, just talking about hula hoops for a second, like everyone has them in like the PE cupboard, like they're the staple piece, aren't they, of the PE cupboard, like a hula hoop. But like people didn't really like get what you did with them other than just jump through them. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, like you can do all these like weird things with them. And I'm trying to get, yeah, I think it's when you bring something new in that's like not being really done before or not really been seen, it's like, oh, what is this? And I think, yeah, like with the education system in general, I think, it's being shaken up like a lot lately, like things are changing. And I think there's so much room like for what you're offering. I think you will, yeah, like as you know, anyway, like, from day one when you first set out to do this, like that it's just consistency and it's just you have to just keep at it, don't you? You have to keep at it, and it's like 1 person at a time.
100%. And I think it's the belief system, with all those people out there trying to set up businesses and they see what we do. They see me all over the media, they see me hosting shows, they see me doing all sorts of different stuff. It doesn't just come in one day, it comes with a lot of I think the first thing that people need to realize is passion.
Hmm.
Setting up a business, especially when because at the beginning of the business, it was all about um, trying to make a living and making sure that you pay your bills and you get as many clients and you do all sorts of stuff. But you'll agree with me. Once you get onto that level where now you're selling the hula hooping, it's more of a passion. It's more of something that you probably would do even without getting paid. You know, it's the same concept as me. Like when I get into this boxing, it's like planting a tree that you're never gonna enjoy the shade of. It's more to do with the future and how you feel it's made a difference. It's going to continue making a difference after you.
Yeah.
So I think it becomes a calling, away from, the personal trainer that wakes up in the morning trying to change people's lives and make a living. I think you step onto that platform where everything is a calling, and it's a different dimension.
100%. And I talk a lot about this, especially with clients that I mentor, is that, it's when you take the, yes, obviously we need money, right? We need to survive and live. But when you take the focus off of like chasing the money, but instead you're chasing the purpose, that's when everything changes. That's when the money will find you. That's when everything will find you. When you're actually out there living your, I call it like dharma, which is like, it means purpose, life purpose. And I believe we all have a life purpose and something to fulfill in this lifetime. And it's like, how much joy can you spread? How much change, like positive change, can you bring to other people's lives whilst you're here, And I think when you actually like land on that thing, it does change everything. Absolutely changes everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's like you asked me the first one of the questions you asked me was how long has it taken me? I mean, it takes a lifetime for you to find yourself. You always know there's something special, there's something that you have, there's something you need to give out there, but you don't go looking for it; it looks for you. And I think you just have to continue doing what you love doing,
Mhm.
and that turn comes in. And like I said, I started off as a normal personal trainer like everybody else. I went into the industry because I had passion for it. I love training myself, and I love training other people. But as time goes on, you build a success, you build your business, you do everything you need to do. I mean, I feel like I've gone through the normal ranks of what personal trainers would do. I mean, every personal trainer dreams of owning a gym. I own a gym. I've owned about 3, 4 gyms. I don't know what other people dream of, but that is kind of the pinnacle of the personal trainer. They want to run their own business, make it successful, own a gym, and then what?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's that what that we're in. It's like, okay, I went through the normal ranks, and lucky enough for me, this passion found me, and I thought, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to create something for people. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do something that the youngsters will enjoy doing. I'm going to do something very futuristic that's going to exist after me. I'm going to fight through all the corners of it, and this is where I am now.
I love that. And have you found, as you've kind of progressed on the journey, like, yes, there's been challenges, and I like to say, my podcast is like one of them is jumping through hoops. Like, there's been lots of hoops to jump through. But would you say that so many doors of opportunity, like, just open once you put yourself out there and make a decision that you're going to follow your calling? Have you found like there's just different windows of opportunity that sort of present themselves?
Um, I want to say yes, but I also want to say no because there's a certain time of my life where there was a certain switch that happened. So I can't exactly tell you when it was, but there was a time when I used to ask for things, because I knew I had the potential. And I used to ask for things like, for example, I'll give you a very good example. I used to ask to go on radio and go on TV. So I'd send an email, I'd look for a contact, and I'd send an email and say, I want to come on radio and I want to come and talk about this, or on TV, I want to come and talk about this. I want to write an article. I've thought about something I need to write about, but I want to, could I please come and present this article, or could you publish it on the newspapers? You know, that went on for a long time, and then I woke up one day and I said, I don't have to ask anymore. I don't want to ask because I know what I'm about. I know my value. I know what information I can provide out there. I'm not going to ask anymore. So what I started doing is I would write an article and I would send it to the publishers and I would say, look, I've got this article. Um, would you like to publish it? If not, it's okay. I'll send it to other publishers. You know, I found out that it was more about the sense of command that I have inside me that I need to command my own space because there's a lot of people out there asking. And one of my, by the way, I do mentorship as well, like you, but I'm doing it by default. At the moment, I haven't got a package for it. So I'm just helping. I'm just like, everybody comes to me, oh, Frank, can you tell us how you've done this or how you do this? And then I end up just giving people that information
Yeah.
because I haven't got a package for it yet. I'm still working on that at this moment. But I always say to people, stop asking, show people your value and they'll appreciate you. One typical example is the fact that when I started providing people with stuff, as opposed to sitting there and saying, hang on a minute, can I come on your radio station? Can I come on your TV station and talk about this? You know, I felt like maybe there's hundreds and hundreds of people doing the same thing, and these guys receive the same stuff every day. But what they don't receive is content. Yeah. So my biggest advice or anything to anyone is don't just ask without content. Don't just ask without the substance of what you're asking for. You need to provide as opposed to ask. So going back to your question about do opportunities open themselves, I think you need to go through that phase first where you're making these appearances and you've got content and you've already written the content. You've already stayed up when everybody else is in bed and actually wrote content. And so I started writing content for magazines and newspapers, just little columns about what I thought about in my fitness in the fitness industry. And I supplied them with them and said, "Do you want to publish this in your publication? Um, if you want it, you can have it, but let me know. Obviously, give me the credits for it. But if you don't want it, it's okay. I'm going to send it to somebody else." So I found out that I was getting so many people asking for my articles, different magazines, different, and this is how I wrote my book, Get Motivated.
Mm.
So I thought to myself, since I'm writing so many articles now, one particular one was a Daily Echo. I used to be a columnist for the Daily Echo for 10 years. And I used to write a column every Tuesday. There was a fitness column day. It was my column. Um, Same thing happened. I started providing them with content, and then they loved the content, and they said, "Oh, people love the content, so do it every Tuesday." So I was writing for the Daily Echo. I was writing for other fitness magazines. I was writing for different sources, and I told myself, you know what? I'm going to write a book, but I'm going to use these columns because I'm not going to sit down and actually write the whole book. But I'm going to use these columns, but I'm not going to repeat content.
Mm.
So I started writing, and over the years, I was collecting the columns because they were being published. So it was almost like I'm advertising myself, but I'm creating a book at the same time. So that happened for 10 years. So when people see my book, Get Motivated, everybody thinks, oh, lockdown came and Frank wrote a book in 3 months. You know, I wrote it in 10 years.
Yeah.
So everything comes together. you
Yeah.
know, um, every little avenue or every little platform that you put an effort to, it all comes together.
Mm.
So
Like
yes,
compound effects, I like to call it, is like, like
yeah,
you're saying about planting that seed, and the tree grows, but it's like compounding over time, isn't it? And actually, you're talking about content, which actually and visibility and adding value, and that actually brings us into what I was going to ask you next, which is for people that are actually setting up their own fitness business or they're wanting to grow a brand and scale it. And what you're saying in adding value, and the visibility part of it is everything. And like you, very similar. I actually wrote a column for quite a long time for a local magazine, and very similar. I actually took a lot of that information and repurposed that and put it into like social media content, into a blog, and then yeah, like you later on a book. And I think people can get in their heads a lot about like content, or, when you are the brand and then you're also the marketer, you're wearing all the hats, aren't you, initially at the very start?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
causes a lot of overwhelm for business owners and entrepreneurs. It's like, wow, like, but actually, it does get to be easy in a way. Like it actually, I find now, like content comes because you can repurpose it. It's just showing up. It's just having the confidence to put yourself out there as well, isn't it? I think.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, that brings me on to what I was going to say. Like, what would your advice be now for someone who is just getting started in the industry? Maybe they want to have their own gym, maybe they want to set up a brand, maybe they want to, whatever it is, maybe want to have their own franchise, something like that. What would your number one tip be for someone just getting started now?
Right. So the number one tip is obviously self-belief. You've got to believe in yourself. That's number one. Never ever go and start something out there when you don't believe in yourself.
Mhm.
Believing in yourself means that you've got to go, you've got to grind, you've got to do everything it takes for you to be successful in what you want. And then mainly pointing to the fitness industry. I mean, this applies to almost everything, I think, but mainly pointing to the fitness industry. Fitness industry is very competitive, and it's very challenging industry. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, it's very challenging. As much as we're sitting here and smiling because I think we've probably managed to be one of the few people that can claim that we've been successful from the game, but it's very challenging, and it's very cutthroat, and it's very competitive. Um, but out of all that competition, I see one thing that people are not doing is embracing their communities. I think a lot of youngsters now are dreaming of becoming successful personal trainers, but they're looking at a very, very, very flooded space. And, everyone is trying to go online. I mean, weirdly enough, I mean, ask me, I don't train, I don't do online training. I only did it during lockdown because obviously the circumstances forced people to do it that way. But I don't do online training. I am, as you might know already, I am very much respected as a health professional in my community, and I make a decent living out of being known in the community. And a lot of people will rush to go and try and be international, or as you will agree with me, when you started hula hooping, it is a community thing. It is you being lifted and being raised by your community, and your community respecting what you're doing, and you giving back to your community. What people don't realize is that your community is what's going to build you up to have that international status. You
Mhm.
know, youngsters out there, don't rush to try and go online and compete with the very, very flooded industry online. I mean, I was talking to some youngsters. Like I said, I do mentorship now for youngsters out there. They look good, they look great, they probably have the skill, but the problem is they're not making enough money. You
Mm.
know, um, and I said, what's going on? He goes, oh yeah, online. Some personal trainers are charging anything between something as ridiculous as £5 to £10 a session, because they're looking at volume sales, they're looking at international audiences, they're looking at all that. And I said, how do you compete with that? And I just say, look, you're looking in the wrong spaces. I mean, are you known in your community? Are you known? Who are you in your community? How many people know what you do in your own community? Why don't you start from there? Why don't you just build your name up in your community? Go around, wake people up in the morning. I used to do that. I wake up in the morning. I used to have this loudspeaker thing, and I used to go and wake up people in the morning, in the mornings. And I used to run these free sessions in St. James Park, you know, and I would go around Shirley and wake people up. And I was hated. Some people absolutely hated me, but I built that crowd to nearly about 50 people in the morning coming to train in the mornings. And
Amazing.
the 50 people appreciated it. Obviously, some few hundreds were like, You're crazy. What are you doing? We don't want to wake up at that time in the morning, but
Mm.
you have to have a passion. You have to look for that. If you want yourself to grow, you need to go into your communities and let your communities know about you, know about what you do, show them what you have as a passion. And also don't look at yourself as just a trainer. Look at yourself as a health professional. Attend those meetings. There's so many meetings in town about health and stuff. And I go to those meetings and I'm the only trainer in those meetings. Doctors are having meetings about obesity in the city, and there's no personal trainers. Do you know what I mean? So this is the type of stuff that I thought to myself, do you know what? You're going to have to do this. If you're going to have to do it, you're going to have to work with the communities, work with the council, work with the GPs, work with everyone that's trying to promote health in your city.
Mhm.
So this is my advice to all the youngsters out there. Stop looking too far beyond. Everything. Charity begins from home. Create your identity at home and push it from there.
Yeah, and I agree. Because that's how I started. I started in a local village hall with one hula hoop class in one school. It was my daughter's school, and that's how I built myself in the community. And from there, like, yeah, you have to start, like you say, with building something. I think, unfortunately, social media is great. I think it's great, but I think it also does give people a little bit of the wrong expectations. So, like, especially when you see all these influencers, with thousands of followers, and then people just think, oh, I can just build that in a day. It's going to be easy. But yeah, like you say, you have to start with your people like first. You just start to build that, don't you? And I think it's then like word of mouth. I found, referrals, word of mouth, people get to know you, and like people buy from people at the end of the day. And I think, like, that's how you grow. That's how, like, I look at a lot of businesses. Like, my mum had a hair salon, which was my nan's actually before my mum, and that was in our community, and they grew that, and that managed they had that for 60 odd years because they were like a core part of the community. And I think that's where it starts, like you say. And there's no reason why you can't think big, like you have and like I've done, but that is a process. It definitely is a process of, it's compounding over time.
It's a process, and I know that there's some people that will have what you call a lucky break, and get that way. But I think don't base yourself on that. It's like basing yourself on winning the lottery.
Mhm.
I think you need to build a really strong foundation base for your business, and you need to really, really know that it is solid. Like I'm never gonna stop doing community stuff. As much as busy as I am, running around trying to get my product and my concept to be as big and international as it goes, I still keep myself connected to those people because they're the ground, the foundation of my success. So I think, yeah. So many youngsters, don't overlook yourself. Also, the other biggest tip that I give to other young personal trainers is it's not about you. It's about the people you're working with.
Yeah.
I was mentoring a young lady who's your early 20s. She's getting ready to hit the industry. She's got everything it takes. She's very confident. She's very brave. She wants to do this, and I think she had something like 12,000 followers on Instagram, and a certain amount of followers on TikTok and all these type of stuff. And then I said, but you've got, if you look at your followers, right, that's more than what I've got. But are you making money?
Mhm.
She's not.
Yeah.
So I said, what you need to do now is you need to be real with yourself. You need to look at these followers and ask yourself, who are they? Which dynamic, where do they come from? And what are they interested in? You know what I mean? Because all you're going to get is people that just follow you and they have different interests, especially with young females. If you're going to be out there doing squats all the time, and you know and all you're doing is just filming yourself doing squats, and all these people are following you for that, then they're following you for the wrong reasons. I think you've got to get to a point where you grow up a little bit fast. I understand you're only 21, 22, but the industry doesn't have any business, doesn't have any there's no forgiveness in business, you know, because you're going to sit back one day and think to yourself, oh, all those years I've spent and I've got all these people, it looks great, but am I actually making a living out of it? Am I making money? And this is what I was telling them. I said, look, most of these guys are probably these clients, and she did have a massive male audience. And I said, the truth of the matter is, it's probably something you won't like. You've got the numbers there, but they're not really looking at your training. They're not looking at anything. They're looking at something different for their own interests. But the bottom line is, you got to monetize everything. And if you want to monetize the fitness business, it's not about you doing squats. It's about the people that you train talking about you. It's
Yeah.
about showcasing how much fun they're having when they're training with you. You know, keep yourself out of the picture, and people will talk and they'll talk to each other. And you know, that's one of my other biggest advices to young people. You know, it's a cutthroat game.
I think people can get caught up a little bit like in the ego side of things at times, you know, and actually it's actually what results are you going to create for people? How are you going to change someone's life with what you're doing? How are you going to improve someone's life? Like, why should someone invest in you? And that I think, you know, again, people I sort of mentor, is always like coming back to like what results are you creating, and show people evidence of the results you're creating, and then they'll start to
Absolutely.
buy, they'll start to give you money, you know, and that's how you monetize is results.
Definitely, and you know, it's not that difficult. Start with one person. Don't start going for volumes of people, because it's not about the volumes. It's about that one person that you change their lives. They're going to build up two people. You know, they're going to go and talk about something else. Put your focus on one client. Train that one client really well. You know, give them everything they need. You know, give them the best service you can ever give them, and they'll go and talk about you and get the second client, the third client, the fourth client, and eventually you've got so many people and you've got numbers in classes that people can't even get into your classes, they can't into your sessions, and that's how it starts.
Yeah, that's the power of one. I like to call it the power of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing advice. Thank you. And then you've just mentioned your book, and can you just talk quickly a little bit about your book and also where people can actually buy the book if they want to read it?
So I'm writing a second book, by the way. Like I told you last time when I saw you, I'm writing. This one is a little bit difficult to write. I think it's because I am actually writing about myself, and what we're talking about today is everything I'm writing on there because, like I said, you know, the mentorship journey is coming naturally. You know, I'm always one person that loves and enjoys natural progression. You know, if something comes to you and you start to see certain change in dimensions, and I'm like I said to you, I'm getting a lot of people coming to me and asking questions because I've probably been in the game for long and they've looked at the success and stuff like that. So the second book I'm writing is about mentorship, is about my journey, is about how I became, how I wrote books, how I started, you know, all this stuff, all these tips that I've been given so far. But the first one, Get Motivated, is more to do with how I've trained people, my clients, the mind coaching of somebody wanting to exercise. So this you'd probably say is a book that I wrote for customers or people that want to start their fitness journey, and how they can maintain their fitness journey. All the frequently asked questions like, you know, how do you lose moves? How do you get moves? Do you, you know? So the first chapters of the book are to do with the mindset. I'm a very massive advocate of the mindset because sometime during my journey in the fitness industry, I decided that I discovered that I needed to learn more about the mind. So that's how I went into mind coaching, because I believe that you can train someone, anyone can train anyone. You know, you can train a client so much that they can crawl out of the gym. They can't even walk out of the gym. But it's when they get outside that gym and they light a cigarette and crawl towards McDonald's, then you're failing. Okay. So how do you coach that person to make them realize the value of what they're doing, and how important it is for them to have a lifestyle of being active and fit and healthy without getting into those habits.
Mhm.
So I became a mind coach. I became a life coach. I then studied that. So the first part of the book, the first chapter is called Positive Mindset. It talks about how to get started, healthy mind, healthy body, taking small steps, visualizing your goals, growing pains. There's no quick fix with stress and developing a winner's mind. So the first part of the book kind of prepares you for what you're just about to get into, so it tells you that, Rome wasn't built in one day type of thing. You have to take small steps. You have to build yourself up to it. The second chapter is mainly how to help yourself. So there's all the how to's, stuff like how to gain confidence, how to get rid of bingo wings, so how to boost your metabolism, how to kill your man boobs, do you know what I mean? All the frequently asked things that I've experienced in the last 25 years. And then it goes on, it goes on to like your health, cut down the sugar, and I've got also chapters up to the point where I've actually got chapters that have exercises and workouts. So there's home workouts, there's gym workouts, there's all sorts of stuff. So I really based it on the industry, and it's done really well. So I launched the book in 2020. I think when during lockdown, during the last end of lockdown. So when I launched it, I self-published because obviously there wasn't any publishers at the time or anything like that. So I sold my book on Amazon. So I've got loads of copies that were sold on Amazon. I have got loads and loads of books that were sold. Remember, I said something about the community. So what I've done with the book is I've made it really, really original and authentic by featuring pictures, images of people in my community featuring in the book. So I have hundreds and hundreds of people that were members in my gym, my clients. So during your session, sometimes when you take photos, when you do interviews, when you do stuff like that, that's another tip that you need to do as a young personal trainer is you need to make sure that you document your journey. Sometimes when your client is doing a squat that you've taught them to do, maybe just film it or just take a photo of it and just document it. And that's what helped me. So I take photos of classes. As you've seen, I have videos every single week of my sessions. Stuff like that helps you because it helps you to build a portfolio of what you're doing. So Get Motivated is the book that was developed for the Hampshire people. And obviously, it's hit international audiences, being sold on Amazon. On Amazon, it sells for £25. If you're local somewhere, then don't buy it on Amazon. Buy it from my website. You just type in Funkyfit Boxing or Get Motivated. It's all over there. And you can get the copy and you can get a nice signed copy.
Oh, amazing. I will make sure I also put those links in the show notes as well, so people can
Yeah.
go directly to buy the book if they want to get it from you. Oh, fantastic. So, well, I'm excited to hear about the second book when that's ready. I'll be reading that.
Yes, yes. I'm not giving anyone any dates. I think because my journey is still unraveling, and I feel like, what am I going to do? Am I going to do a part two? What did you do, by the way? Because I know you launched a book, and I can't wait to see you so we can swap books. By the way,
Yeah, so
we
I
have
mean,
to swap signed copies.
yeah. I self-published as well on Amazon earlier this year actually. I actually wrote mine while I was out in Thailand. I was out there for 2 weeks and sort of in the jungle, and it kind of all just came. I was ready. I'd had it in my head for a long time, and that was the right time. And I think, with things like books, sometimes it is just about timing, isn't it? I think when the time feels right, like I think everyone's got a book in them, everyone. And it's relative, like the self-publishing journey, actually, people think it's going to be a really complicated way, trying to get a publisher obviously is a different route that you can go down, but self-publishing, anyone can do that, right? It's actually quite easy to,
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I've actually just done my second book, followed back here, I think that was May I launched that one, and that's also on Amazon
Mm.
as well. So yeah, I think once you've done one and you do another, and then you're like, oh, what can I talk about now? But I think as an entrepreneur, like, your journey's well, your life anyway, but definitely as an entrepreneur, it's always unraveling. There's always something, there's always something new to talk about. There's always something to, to support and inspire people with, I think. And yeah, I think it's an interesting journey, isn't it?
Here's your book. Has your book done well?
Yeah, so I think I put mine, I wrote it in February and then I self-published on Amazon around at the end of March time. And
Okay.
I think so far, I had, don't quote me on this, but I think I've probably sold around 100 copies so far. So, and that was just on that, that's on Amazon. And then, yeah, like, I kind of give them to my clients. I've got the Audible version as well. So yeah, yeah.
Do you find that so with a book it's actually nice that you've got it, but do you find that you need to sometimes allocate time to market that because you're marketing so many different things?
Yeah.
I think one thing that that with me is that I have so many things, and it's like you've got you need to allocate a certain time frame to be able to market. That's why I always have my branding around me all the time. And obviously Get Motivated is the first book that I've got, which I carry around everywhere. It's done really well, by the way, and I think I was quite lucky with the fact with the lockdown, because a lot of people it just seemed like they were looking for something like that. And I did make quite good international sales. I think from 2020 to now, I've sold about 8,000 copies. So
Wow.
that's been,
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah. So both international and most local. So Get Motivated has really reached a lot of massive audience to Australia, to everywhere. So I was quite lucky in that respect, and I had the time to market it.
Mm.
Um, but I don't think the intention was about selling. I think the intention was about being able to publish what you've got. But again, you have to monetize everything. You can't just have a book and nobody read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is like as an entrepreneur, like especially in the fitness industry and like what we're doing, kind of your fingers in every part, isn't it? Like it's like, oh, like, but it keeps it fun, it keeps it interesting. And I think, yeah, like for me, like with content and things like that, I kind of circulate it. And that's like a bit of advice maybe I can just add in here for anyone listening that's like multi-passionate and multi-dimensional entrepreneurs on here. Like when you've got so many things to market, it can get really overwhelming and you're thinking, oh my God, like I've got too many things like going on. But I think it's when you can actually, I would say almost like you do have to kind of be quite strict on scheduling a little bit with what you're going to promote. So I would talk like for the next 5 posts on social media, for example, I would talk about just one thing, like say the hula hoop training,
Mhm.
the instructor training. Then for the next 5 posts, I might talk about the book. Then for the next 5 posts, I might talk about mentorship. And then for the next 5 posts, and then repeat, and it's rinse, repeat. But like obviously keep it interesting, keep adding that value like we were talking about before. You've got to keep doing that as well, and keep connecting with the people you're talking to.
How do you split mentorship with your currently running business?
Mm.
That part, because like I said before, mentorship for me is happening by default. I haven't set a package for it. I'm happy. By the way, anybody out there that's seeking mentorship, that Mr. Funkyfit to mentor them, this is the right time to try and catch me for free because it's not going to happen any longer. I find that in so many people, and just done a big project, Future Fit actually.
No.
That's going to be out in the next couple of months, and I think I'm going to be working with them to try and mentor some trainers coming out of there. But like I said, it's not packaged yet. So if you want to reach out, I'm sure Hannah's available. I'm available. I'm still giving bits and bits of advice. Everything is not put it together, but Hannah's got everything put together. So it's I don't know how I'm going to split it with my everyday work.
I, you just start to, and like you, mine just came as default. Like it wasn't ever in my plan. Like you, people just came to me and they were like, "How have you built a brand? How have you done that? How have you done that? Like, what do you do?" And that's when it's like, oh, okay. Like a mentor, a true mentor is someone who has walked the path and come through the other side, and then can like actually just be that guide to take other people through that journey. And I think that's what, like, I really value mentorship. I have a mentor myself. I'll always have a mentor, like, always. I think there's so much value in it. It's just great for accountability. It's great for, if someone, for me, like, having someone who has reached the goals where that I haven't actually hit yet, and actually for me to be able to calibrate to that level is everything, because it's like, that person inspires me, I want them to mentor me, and I think that's what a great mentor is someone who's walked the path and can show someone else how to do it.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm going to add on that is you need people, youngsters out there, or anybody jumping into industry, whatever industry you want to jump into, you need to hunt those mentors down. You need to look for them. They don't just come to your doorstep. You've got to hunt them down. I have an example. Before I created my, because Mr. Funkyfit has a character as well. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a character with the pigtails guy with the red and socks and everything else like that. So every festival or every show I do, I go to the Mr. Funkyfit character. Before I developed that character, because people gave me the name Mr. Funkyfit first, and then I took the character later on. I thought, you know what, I'm going to embrace it and develop the character. Um, Before I developed that character, there was one person who has built the most success and who's very well known in the industry, who has dominated the industry in this country. And that's Mr. Motivator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to know how he's managed to, because he's captured something that a lot of people haven't. Like even up to today, if you talk about legendary trainers who were on our screens all the time when we were young, and the person that everybody knows is Mr. Motivator. I'm not overlooking all the other trainers that have made a great success. Obviously, there are some really really great names out there. Some of them are good friends of mine, but there's just something about Mr. Motivator that I thought is different from some of the trainers that are out there. It's because he had a character with his name,
It's very
and he knew how to.
band. All his outfits and everything.
He knew how to. Absolutely, but he knew how to engage every generation. He knew how to engage the kids. He knew how to engage the adults, and everybody speaks about him even today. I mean, I see him around anyway. He still does in pieces, but he disappeared to Jamaica for a long time, and people still talked about him. So I knew that that's the person I need, because this is before I started going to TV. I got invited to TV channels, and I thought, do you know what? I'm boring. This is boring. I need to create a Mr. Funkyfit character. So when I go TV, people remember the character.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I tracked him down for 2 years, right? I stalked him. I wrote emails to him. I said, next time he comes to England, I've actually got an email that when I was asking him, I was saying, look, I'm happy to pay you for your time. I just need to talk to you. I need to find out a few things from you, and I need to meet you. And eventually, he agreed to meet up, and that was the best breakfast I've ever had. Really, I sat down with him, I had breakfast with him, and he just literally gave me all the tips of how you can how you can keep your character and how you present yourself and things like that. That is very invaluable. So I recommend every youngster out there to come to look for a mentor and look for someone like yourself who's on that mentorship trajectory, and go and find out how it's been done, because sometimes you think you know, but the truth of the matter is those who've walked the path will know a lot more than you do.
Oh yeah. And I think the great thing about mentorship is that you can help people, like, get there quicker as well, because we've made the mistakes, we've done the things that, like, probably the long way to do things, where actually I found shortcuts since, so I can show other people how to take that shortcut. Um, like, one example, just quickly, I think I remember when I registered my brand back in, I think it was 2013. I didn't know anything about limited companies and registering and trademarks and things. And I had so many different names for different classes I had at the time. I went and registered them all. I remember, like, I was like all these letters from Companies House coming through the post, and then I googled online and like trying to work out what on earth was going on. Got myself an accountant after that, but it was like, oh, Hannah Murphy is like one of the the youngest people in the UK with the most trademarks. Like, what? None of these things are even making money. Like, what is this? And it's like,
Yeah,
I had no clue at the time about any of that, anything to do with that. Like most people wouldn't with there. You find out as you go. But yeah, when you've walked the path, you've made some of the mistakes and things, you're like, okay, no, here's how we do it.
absolutely. And yeah, so all the youngsters out there, everybody's doing it, going in the game. Get a mentor, find out some information. You don't know everything. Always, you said, always look up to somebody who's done what you want to do. Don't ever think that, the guy that you're with in the gym is every day coming in the same struggle as you, he's going to help. Of course they are to a certain level and a certain degree, but you remember you're on the same level for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking to a senior personal trainer that's in the same thing as you have to also still remember in the back of your mind that he's still in the same building for a reason. Okay. If you want to grow bigger than that, you want to grow out of that same building, you need to be looking outside the building and looking for people that have moved up and walked the path.
100%. Yeah. Wow. Okay. This has been a really great. I feel like we could carry on talking about so many things. I
Absolutely.
think when your next book's ready, I think we should get back on and talk a little bit more about that. And I'd love to talk to you more about mindset as well. Because I think that's like such a big thing, and that's probably like the main piece of business, really, isn't it? um and fitness, and actually overall like everything in life. But obviously we can't talk forever, so I'm going to wrap it up now, and thank you so much. And I know you've just mentioned
Absolutely.
links and where we can find details of your book, but what I'm going to do is share everything in the show notes, also about where we can find your classes, your website, and also your social media handles. I'm guessing, are you Mr. Funky Fit on Instagram and on other social handles?
Yeah, yeah. So mostly Mr. Funkyfit everywhere. I think it's you've got me on Instagram. You've got me. I think I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, I've got LinkedIn. I haven't got TikTok.
I'm not sure
I
about
keep getting I keep getting people saying, "Why are you not on TikTok?" I'm actually tired of social media. I cannot. You have to mentor me on this one. Like, do I need to find someone to handle my social media? Because I cannot carry on building these social media pages and I only post once a week. That's good enough for me. Otherwise, I'll be out of my work.
that. Well, that's it when you're wearing the hat everywhere. I think like once you get to a certain level, like I actually do have someone that does social media for GlobeFit, but then I like to maintain my own social media, like for my own personal brand, my mentorship, because I feel like no one can really use my voice like I can and really say what's on my mind. But obviously for GlobeFit now, I
Yeah,
have people that help me with that. So I definitely think outsource what you can, but we can talk about like repurposing. Well, we could talk for ages about this, but repurposing across all the platforms, but it takes time. I think I'm a real advocate of anything that cuts out time. Like I literally will do that.
absolutely.
Always.
I mean,
Like,
I told you I'm in my therapy space here. Um, Sorry, some phone call coming. So I'm in my therapy space here. So because I have a therapy practice on the Isle of Wight. So I chucked everyone out today. I was like, look, Friday, can you all go? Because I want to come in there and have a peaceful environment. So I run business. So it's not difficult when you have the other business outside what you do, because this one here is pretty much a business that self-runs itself, and this is another thing on the mentorship side, that with the personal trainers, obviously this can't go on record because we've got a lot of things on record now. But on the personal training side, I think investment, a lot of people, this is something that needs to be really, really talked about, because people think the fitness industry you're going to make money, and if you don't invest that money, then you're going to have big problems.
Mhm.
So that's another chapter that I think that is actually in my book, because what I've done outside this, I've done some investment, which will help me not struggle with my everyday finances or anything like that. So I think with people that make a lot of money from personal training or doing their fitness in, they've got to still remember that you've got to make those investments and keep them running on the side alongside what you do.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
revenue stream of things. But oh my gosh, I could talk investments. So much conversation. But I'm going to thank you for your time because I've taken up enough of your time for today. And I can't wait to get you back on to talk about your book when that is ready. And yeah, thank you, Frank, Mr. Funky Fit. Thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
you're
And
welcome. Thank you very much.
thank you.
See you later, Hannah. Cheers.